Welcome back. I should be saying to me because I said I was going to do these weekly, and here we are on week 8, and this is the third review. To be honest, I'll literally just tell you flat out, for 2 weeks, I was very sick, so I couldn't do a review for week 5 and week 6. And when week 7 came around, I was like, okay, I have 3 days to do this review. Do I do it? And, I clearly ended up not doing it. So I am here this week, and spoilers, I am going to be here next week as well. So let's just jump right into the review. Since I missed week 5, week 6, and week 7, I'm just going to quickly kind of go over a little bit. At this point, there's not really much to say about week 5 since I really did not have all that great of a performance, but week's 5 challenge was top gear. Basically, you just had to make yourself or acquire the best gear possible and try to get as many bonuses as you can, and the person with the most bonuses wins. To be honest with you, my account really does not have the highest skills. That's why for the past, few months, I've been trying to max my account out. Slowly but surely. I mean, these are all stats, which you're going to see in an adventure video. I got a few 99 since last video, and that was actually Gillinor games that made me want to max out, since whenever I'm in a challenge, I want to be able to do whatever skill that I can, because this is season 4 of Gillinor games. I feel like at this point you need to have high skills for the challenges. It's just such a benefit. I really don't show up all that much in this episode because, to be honest, I didn't have all that much of a strat, and kind of like I touched upon last time, I was really going through some shit, and I won't really get all that much into it, but I was not having a good time. My strategy was really not all there, and I ended up not placing last, and that's all I was trying to do, because this week was a double elimination. If you placed last in week 5's challenge, then you automatically got put into the banning. It was a double elimination. Now, thankfully, out of the 14 players, I got 11th place. Obviously not good. Literally, I got 1 more point over Torvesta, so if it would have come down to it, that could have potentially saved me. I don't even know what my one difference is. I think it was like the steel gloves that I got right at the end. But yeah, I really did not have all that great of a week. Thankfully, I did not get sent into the banning. Unfortunately, Settled did, and he is in a double elimination. Now again, at this point, this is week 5. I'd really hope you watch week 5, although I will say spoilers for week 5, 6, 7, and 8, because, just obviously. The 3 people that got put into the banning were West Ham, MMORPG, and Settled ends up winning it overall. He comes out on top, so 2 people are eliminated. He is safe for another week. That brings us to week 6. Week 6 rolls around, and it is a Red X challenge. This is such a cool challenge, and I kind of felt like I didn't really do all that great. I ended up not yellow clicking at all in the end, but I just took my sweet time, and it's a race after all. You need to take chances for something like this, and I honestly just was not fast enough. Now, I did have a few decent plays overall, but I think I could have done so much better in this challenge, and I'm really hoping at some point in time there's something else where there's like a Red X race, because it is such a cool and fun concept. Again, I did play slow and methodical, and the reason why I did that is because I actually was partnered up with Settled here, and I did not want to let him down. I did not want to yellow click at all, so I figured it's better to just take my time a little bit and make sure that I don't yellow click so I don't get sent back, because if I get sent back, that'd be devastating. I'd say the only good play I had in week 6's challenge was this play right here, where I saw Roydy and I went for the entangle on him, because if you go for the entangle on somebody, which was actually allowed in this challenge, you can get a lot of distance, especially if they have gap on you. They basically will do all the heavy lifting for you. Unfortunately, I did end up getting entangled right at the finish line twice, so I basically had to sit there and burn 30 seconds, which absolutely sucked. Next up, it was Settled's turn, and he had a pretty flawless run. He was very quick with it, but unfortunately, because of those 30 seconds, we ended up coming in 3rd place. If I did not get entangled at all, we probably would have made the Tribunal today. The banning this week ends up being a big one. It is Solo versus Bodhi in the banning multiplier, which basically you have to kill as many NPCs as you can, and you can go with one of 3 different setups. Bodhi ends up smoking Solo Mission, and Solo Mission is knocked out, which is sad for the actual show itself, or the Gillinor Games episodes, because Solo brings so much life to it. But I gotta say, as a competitor, he is a very scary person to go against. And there's always a bit of a sense of relief whenever someone like that is knocked out. That brings us to the the week 7 challenge, where basically you have to go and get an armor piece that Soup says as fast as possible. This is a challenge I ended up actually doing pretty good in, but I ended up not making the Tribunal by one person because unfortunately Bodhi ended up teleporting ahead of me and he bought out the entire shop. Bodhi and Settled ended up getting the only shields in the shop, and it was basically me against Hootie to find out who could get the first shield slot, which to be honest, I had absolutely no idea. Again, as I said, I end up not making the Tribunal. It is actually Hootie, Settled, and Bodhi who make the Tribunal this week. The banning this week ends up being Roydy versus Zoe Pancakes in a really cool banning. It's the Tile Man challenge, and you basically have to use as few tiles as possible. This is one of those bannings that I really wanted to be in because I felt like I would have done very well in it. Maybe not against Settled, obviously, but everyone else, I feel like I would have had a pretty good chance at winning this banning. Unfortunately, Zoe ends up losing and Roydy stays in, so that is another competitor knocked out of week 7, but we survive. That brings us all the way to week 8, the current week, where the current prize pool is sitting at a whopping 51.7 bill. Just an insane amount of GP that we're all competing for. This week's challenge is called PK Relay. Basically, there are 2 teams of 5, and there's 5 different setups that you can choose from. You can go with the pure setup, you can go with the max main setup, you can go with the Zerk setup, you can go with a Rag Bolter setup, which was the Elite Void setup, or you can go with a Carols to DH setup. Something that you didn't actually see in the episode is the teams talking about who is going to go on what loadout. It was actually between me and Bodhi for who was going to go on the main setup. Bodhi basically ended up saying that I should go on the main setup if I'm feeling confident, and I was feeling pretty confident at that point. Like, I've done a lot of main Bridding, and even though he's really good, like, I could probably beat him a decent amount right now, but if he gets into PKing and he's in his element, I just am nowhere near him. He can be one of the best PKers in this game. That being said, he hadn't really PK'd in a while, so we both agreed that I should go on the main setup. It comes time for me to fight, and the fight is me against Torvesta, and we both have the main setups. Now, you can tell at first, based on the footage right here, I was a bit nervous. Like, I'm not really all that shaky, but I was definitely a bit nervous, and when I get nervous, I miss the easiest clicks. Like, right here, you can see, I literally just missed that freaking barrage. Admittedly, I was probably nervous for, like, the first 30 seconds of the fight, and I really did not perform all that well off the gate, but once I calmed myself down, my switches actually got to be pretty good. This is actually the raw footage, by the way, and I would say that the most important thing about this isn't even your spec, although obviously once you get a good spec off, you're able to get a lot of momentum from that, but it's more so just being able to correctly predict what your opponent's going to pray and just hitting them with something else. You basically want to just keep DPSing them as much as possible. The thing about Tribunal that I think a lot of people don't really utilize, and it's so strong, is magic. Since you can get a lot of DPS, and people tend to not really pray magic all that much, so whenever you have the chance to just throw a few barrages in there, especially, you know, faking it out, going back to back, it ends up being a pretty effective tool in the long run. At this point, Torvesta's out of food. I still have a decent amount of food left, and I know that their Zerker's going to be up next, and at this point, I can probably take them out. I would say that I start this fight off pretty strong out of the gate. I run right next to them and make it seem like I'm going to go for a melee, because people normally do pray melee against that, but he happened to pray range, and I get my spec off. Again, the AGS spec is super good, and at this point, I'm going to be able to get momentum on him if I get a few more good hits on his prayer, or off his prayer correctly, whatever I'm saying. We end up getting pretty deep into the fight, and I don't have all that much prayer left, so at this point, I just start prayer flicking, which I think this is the first time I've ever actually prayer flicked in PvP, aside from the old LMS, but I basically just wanted to utilize my prayer as much as I possibly could, and I knew that he was going to have another spec pretty soon, so I wanted to make sure that I had that one prayer point so I can prayer flick that. This is basically the moment I've been waiting for in this fight. V the Victim is out of food here. He has an AGS spec. I step back so I can get one more bit of damage with magic on him. He runs in for the AGS. I let him hit that, but I pray correctly against it. Then I go for the barrage KO. I didn't think he would actually be praying mage at that point, because obviously I should just bolt, but he prayed mage. I got him all the same. Didn't really matter. I'm going up against Mr. Mammal at this point, and I obviously don't have any food. I have 67 HP, and my job at this point is to just deal as much damage as possible against him. I still have that one prayer point, and he does have D claws, so I know that I'm most likely going to have to go for the claw spec if I end up dealing a lot of DPS to him, since he probably wanted to save the claws at first, but he realized that I was doing a lot of DPS to him because, again, he's in a pure setup. So at this point, what is he going to do? He has to get rid of me as fast as possible. So I prayer flick his D-claws the first time. I actually don't prayer flick his claws the second time, but he ends up not going for it all the same. So didn't really matter. At this point, I probably should have just stayed in tank as well because, I mean, look at that. I got hit at 36. It didn't really matter all the same, though. At this point, I'd basically done my job. There's virtually no way that he comes back against two people, a pure and a Zerk, and I'm wiped out. So at this point, the challenge is over. We've won. I made the Tribunal, and I suggest that we try to get V the Victim as well as Torvesta to go against one another because they're both really strong players. Torvesta has not been in any bannings this season, and V the Victim obviously won last season. Now, when I went into this season of Gillinor Games, I actually had a soft alliance with him because I had an alliance with him last season. But here we are at this point on episode 8, and I feel like he has gone way too far. I mean, he was obviously sent into the first week's banning, but he didn't really have all that much of a struggle getting here, and I figured the best thing to do is to send him in, and hopefully he picks Torvesta or someone strong to go against, so one of the strong players that is in gets eliminated. He ends up picking Mr. Mammal, and they end up going in the banning from last season to eat or not to eat. Now, the best thing for me at this point would be if Mr. Mammal eliminates V the Victim, because obviously I was one of the people that just voted him in. Unfortunately for me, V the Victim actually ends up winning, and I basically just put a target on my back. Thankfully, at this point, I do have two other players that I am close with. I'm close with Settled, and I'm close with Sea Engineer, and as long as I have them on my side, I'll have two other competitors in the games that I can rely on. At this point in the game, I absolutely need to perform if I want to be safe. Admittedly, I'm not really sure who would have a target on my back, other than V the Victim, obviously, after sending him in this week. But the thing is, as a competitor, you never really know who has a target on your back and wants to send you in. Of course, as a viewer, it's pretty obvious because all of the competitors are telling you what they're thinking, but when you're in the actual game, you never really know. So you always have to play it safe. You always have to perform your best, and you have to do whatever it takes to win and go on to the next week. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next week.